I wish that the first-round matchup was Michigan-Ohio State. I think if you're going to seed these four teams, these are the four teams that deserve to be there. Number 1 is Georgia. Number 2 is Michigan. No question. But I think the third best team out of that group is Ohio State, and TCU is the fourth best team out of that group. That's the way I look at it. But it didn't shape out that way when the committee got together. And I was surprised that it didn't work out that way because I thought the committee would love to guarantee a matchup of Michigan and Ohio State. And they could have guaranteed the matchup. They could have had it in the semifinal. But they know that they've got gold with whatever happens. If Michigan beats TCU like they should, it's gold for the championship, whether it's Michigan-Georgia or Michigan-Ohio State. It's gold. But I thought they could have had it both weekends.
They could have had double gold.
Yeah. I think they blew it. I think that they should have matched them up with Ohio State. Everyone would have tuned in. I mean, people are going to tune in anyway, but there's more interest in the Michigan-Ohio State matchup than there would be Michigan-TCU matchup. And then whoever gets through it, going against Georgia, yeah, because Georgia should maul TCU if that was going to be the case. But it's not. They went the other way. Now, would Ohio State, I don't agree with Juan. I don't think Michigan got lucky against Ohio State. I think Michigan imposed their will against Ohio State for the second year in a row. Do I think it would be a different outcome a second time around? I don't know. If they had matched up against each other, or if they match up in the championship game, if that happens, which I don't think is possible, but if it does, do I think Ohio State has a better chance to win? I would have thought that if Smith and Jigba was playing, if Travion Henderson was playing, but both of those guys are saying, no, we're out. We're getting ready for the NFL. It's not going to happen. But I'd like to think that Ohio State would put forth a better effort the next time around. I don't know if it'd be good enough to beat Michigan because I think this is a pretty good Michigan football team.
Do you think Michigan fans are secretly rooting for Ohio State to beat Georgia?
That's a great question. That's a great question to ask the people at 248-539-9797. I love it, Paul. That's a great question. I don't know. Because I think you get a split on that. I think you have the overconfident Michigan fans that think that, yep, bring on Ohio State again, let's take them. And then you've got the Michigan fan that just wants to see Georgia. Let's see how we measure up. Let's get revenge for last year. I don't think this Georgia team is as good as last year's Georgia team. And I don't think this Michigan team is as good as last year's Michigan team. A lot of people think it's better. People are talking about, the Michigan defense, it's better this year than it was last year. I don't see it that way. And I know people they're going to want to cite statistics. Well, I will tell you this. The schedule Michigan played last year was a more honest schedule than what Michigan played this year. So if statistically they look bigger and better this year because they had with more sacks and less points given up, look at the opposition they played. Their non-conference schedule was a joke, and the Big Ten was a letdown outside of Ohio State and Penn State, which Michigan took care of business against both of them. But the Big Ten West was a complete joke. Michigan State was a mess this year, and there was nothing left in the East. So, yeah, I think last year's Michigan defense was better. I don't think there's a player on Michigan's defense this year that's as good as Aiden Hutchinson was, or it's as good as Ojabo was.
I also think for as much as people say that Georgia's defense is down, that's still 11 future NFL players on defense.
It's a good defense. It's a really good defense, but it's not what they had last year. And they're missing Smith, the pass rusher, which hurts them. I mean, you might feel differently if they had that guy, but they lost him with a couple weeks left in the season with a pectoral injury or something. But it is, I think both teams aren't as good as they were last year, but the drop-off from Michigan may not be as great as the drop-off from Georgia from a year ago to this year. But we'll see. We'll see it all. I mean, I think it's going to be two really interesting games to watch. I'm looking forward to watching both of them, and more so seeing Ohio State and Georgia, because I want to know just how good Georgia is. Is Georgia just going to swat Ohio State down like they did to Michigan last year? It's quite possible. But Ohio State plays with a chip on their shoulder. Playing in an indoor stadium, their speed can shine through. They've got speed, too. They've got outstanding wide receivers, as we know. But Ohio State doesn't have the defense that is necessary to compete for a national championship, in my opinion. but we'll see.